Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Opinionated thoughtbotter. I'm Svenja Schäfer, developer and team lead here at thoughtbot. I live in the wonderful or near the wonderful city called Granada in the south of Spain. And we are about to discuss an opinion of my fellow colleague whose name is Rémy. Rémy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Nice to have you, and thank you for having me. So I am Rémy Hannenquin. I'm a senior developer at thoughtbot. I've been at thoughtbot for 3 years. I live in Paris, France, very near Paris. Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you. Welcome, Rémy. Let's cut to the chase, if you can say that. What is your opinion?
So I believe that code style and linting matter.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
maybe not a big opinion or something really controversial, but it's something I feel deeply.
Let's see if it's controversial or not, because I do believe I agree, but I also believe that it's kind of two different topics. So when I think of code style, as you said, I think of like how you structure your code, how what kind of design patterns maybe you use, how you name your methods. This is like for me when this comes to my mind when I think about code style. Whereas when I think about linting, I think of Standard Robocop, ESLint, Vale SH. So for me, these are kind of two different areas. Um, I agree to both because I do believe both code set and linters matter. But I'm curious, did you have the same in mind, or was it one thing, one topic?
I guess it's more about linting. I mean, obviously, I agree with you about code style, the way you say it, and maybe everyone say it except me this way. So yeah, code style and patterns and you know good practices matter, of course. But it's true, yeah. Like my opinion was more about linting, how you write exactly the code, how you format it. I believe it matters. I mean, we can say a lot about it, but I believe it's important not to let it go in all directions and have proper directions.
Are you opinionated about what kind of format someone has to use or should use?
Not really. Like, I think the most important is to have, like, and I have my personal preferences, but I
I want
don't
to hear
think
that.
they, oh,
What's your
I'm
personal preference?
obviously spaces and not tabs. That's the famous one.
Yes.
Um, I like double quotes as well instead of single quotes. Um, two spaces for indentation. What else? And it's just tiny things. But I I believe it doesn't really matter. And sorry, even my opinion changed depending on which project I was, and I got just used to some changes at some point. And I think that's what matters most. Like linting is not about preferences; it's more about agreement within the team. That's where I think linting matters. That you create like a small ecosystem for your project and a shared language, kind of.
So would it be okay for you if you have, let's say you work on X different projects, if each project has a different linter, like linting rules?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably struggle a bit at first if the rules are really different. That's why I really value um, initiatives like standard. Like
Yeah.
we have Robocop, but it's large and it's really easy for good reasons to customize it. And I like that they testable. I believe they created standard so that they said, okay, we're using Robocop, but we are using these defaults, not too many, and then you can still customize it. But at least let's at least agree on some of the rules. That's why I like standard. But if we don't use standard on projects, and as you asked, if I work on different projects with different rules, it would probably take me a little bit of time to adjust. Uh, but it doesn't matter because I would integrate the project and try to speak the same language as everyone else. If I really, really have a very strong opinion about something, I could maybe suggest it, but it's not supposed to be a topic uh, about which you talk about too much. It should be like, let's agree on something, and then we can move on to actually building features and not discuss linting constantly.
I so heavily disagree. I can talk about linters and the rules, and which makes sense to me, that might not make sense to you. I would love to spend hours talking about each rule if there's time for it. But why do you think linting, or let's focus on linters? Why do you think it matters in the first place? If you don't care about the rules themselves, like if you don't want to discuss the rules, why do you care about linters in general?
That's a good question. I think it's about consistency. It's about having the ability to read a project, to read the code, and to have pull request reviews that are focused on what you build and not how you build it. I mean, when I say not how, I'm not talking about patterns and good practices. Again, really about linting. Something that really bothers me is when you have a, and I know I did it. So if other former colleagues are watching this, I know I did it and I'm sorry. I probably requested changes in pull requests about, oh no, this is not the right indentation or this is not the right formatting. And I mean, we can talk about it later about automation. But yeah, when you have a pull request, a code change, it's it's annoying to have to focus on that. It's annoying to just see it. So when you have a common rule, a common formatting, you can really focus on what matters, really matters for your project, which is building features, increasing the experience of the user, and performance, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I do think, by the way, automation makes it much easier because, well, you should never merge something that's failing. Like if the CI fails, then you should merge it. And I would create like a rule that, or yeah, a CI step that checks or that lets the linter run. And if it fails, well, you should not merge it. So you kind of enforce it. But why? I mean, you can also focus on implementing features and just like don't care about linters. Just like, why do you care?
Maybe it's just me, like maybe it's just my brain, but part of my brain is probably made of robotic stuff because I see it and I can't not see it. So if I see different formatting, like you can go in a very legacy project and you see a large file and this file has been written by at least 6 different people with 6 different visions of the code, because sometimes it's not the right indentation, sometimes it's how you space break or method chaining, sometimes it's about naming or whatever, and you see it's not consistent, and probably some folks will say, yeah, I see it, but it doesn't matter, I focus on the code. I can't. So this is maybe just a limitation of me, but I can't unsee it.
No,
So
definitely it's not a limitation. It's no, no. It can't be a limitation. I can't work like that. I can't. I have a question. Do you use Visual Studio Code or any editor, or do you use Vim?
I don't use Vim. Maybe I will be fired from thoughtbot at some point for not using Vim, but I'm not using Vim. No, I'm joking.
Um, the reason I'm asking, I think we paired a while ago, and on a project where my extension, so I use linter extensions, and lots of my code was just like red underlined. And it's very annoying because when I autosave, it will correct it. But that's different because on that project it was different to the actual linter rules we use. So it would fail then, just because I did not set it up correctly on my end. But you can use these extensions for each project.
Yeah, heavily because I I said that it matters, and I also said that we should not focus on it too much. So I don't want to write code and having to format it myself so that it's compliant. I don't want to see CI failing just because I forgot indentation or there is a training space. So ideally, I would have a tool that is based on the rules set up on the project level, and it auto saves and auto formats the code. The only limitation is when sorry, when you introduced these rules later and you didn't fix all the code base. So you might arrive on a file which is not formatted, you save it, it formats it, and then all the file is changed, even if you change only one line, and that's extremely annoying. So I would recommend something that might be unorthodox, but when you introduce these rules, just clean the whole code base, even if it rewrites all the history of each line. It's fine because now all the tools with Git are really powerful. You don't have to absolutely know the last commit of a line to know the context. You can retrieve it really easily. Just fix everything, even if it's uh, 30,000 lines of code. It doesn't matter. At least everything is clean and you don't have to bother about it anymore.
Well, and you also have to get history, so and it's much easier. Yeah, I do think that's very often an issue when you lint or you implement or you add a linter and then you correct the format in a file that also holds some changes for the feature you are working on, but you kind of mix it. So I think that uh, yeah, that can become very tricky to review because I do believe that linters also help like reviewing because you are just like used to specific view how it looks like maybe. What is your favorite linter?
Um,
Standard?
yeah, standard just because I don't have to think about it. It's not perfect because, I mean, it's not that it's not perfect. I I kind of lied before. I would be
What?
like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I would talk about linting and rules for a long time because I just love it. And if I'm with people for for whom it matters, I would love to talk about it and to really fine tune every single rule, and we are so happy about the formatting. But most of the time, it's not the case, and you just have to agree with something. And standard is really nice for it because it's not too opinionated. It's not a lot of rules. It's just some basic important rules like um, trailing space and quote. It's extremely important because it's everywhere.
Yes.
Spaces, training space. Inside spaces, inside brackets. Um, all that it really, yeah, it can change the whole file if you don't agree on that. But for the rest, it's not opinionated, so you can still have differences. So maybe that's not good. Like you can still see different code styles in the project if you only rely on standard. But from what I could see, it's good enough. It's enough to at least, share most of the language, and then you can still have some personal style. So yeah, I would like I enjoy standard.
Nice. Can you think of maybe a negative impact of linters?
I don't think it's directly linters. It I mean, as always, it's not the tools, it's the people. But if you are with people who agree on the tool, except one thing, they will still bring it. So they will say, yeah, yeah, standard is good, but I want this rule. And then it's all over the same discussion. And then you might agree on this rule, but there will be another one and another one. So it's not really the linter that causes problems. It's just that if you start having linters, then you agree that there are rules, but if there are rules, you can question them. So you can have debates all over. And if you don't have linters, there is no question. Everybody does whatever they want, and then there is no relevant question about linting. So I would say, yeah, the problem with linters might be that they exist and it can cause problems. Yeah, I don't know how to say that properly, but yeah, again, I don't think it's the tool by itself. It's more how you use it.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I thought maybe when you are new to programming in general, and then you heavily maybe rely on linters because they were set up by different people, by other like colleagues or whatever, and you, and then you don't really understand why one rule maybe makes sense, and you just like adapt and to gonna use it without actually learning it. So I feel sometimes it might make sense to not use linters when you're at the beginning of your career, to just like see, okay, maybe it really makes sense if a method is not like 300 lines long, right? But
Mm.
without making or without having this experience, you might not value linters so much. Did it change for you, maybe?
Maybe it's just me. I know I can be weird sometime, but a long time ago, not that long, but a few years ago, I would really much enjoy reading the the published code styles of Shopify and Airbnb, because they would say, okay, this is the way, and some of the rules are, you don't really have to question it. It's just about preferences, I guess, what they chose, like if they prefer uh, internal spaces and or nothing. It, you can understand it. It's not bringing that much value about the code itself. It's just preferences. But some of the, like you mentioned, the length of a method, usually they would say you have to stay to this limit, whatever it is, and they would explain why. So when you're a junior and you're reading it, most of the time you have access to the discussions or maybe just the description, and you learn about how to write better code by reading the linting rules. And I really enjoy that because, as I said, it can be different. Linting and code style patterns, or that, it can be really different, but you can learn one from the other. So why shouldn't we have a 1,000-line method? Because it's not maintainable, it's not readable, it's not testable, it's doing too much. But when you're starting in programming, you might not know that. And if you read these code styles, you read, okay, I should not do that. And I know why. And then you're learning two new things and you're improving your skills as a developer.
Yeah, I love that. We also have the guides, right? Our thoughtbot guides, and we're it's also it's not rules, but like how it says, the name says, guidelines, and they gives you the why. So we try to explain it, why it makes sense to use the one over the other without enforcing it. But I do think this is really it's really important to go through the guidelines and just like to also make up your mind. Do you agree? You don't have to agree. I mean, to some extent, yes, you should agree, right? You should write tests. This is not about linting. It's maybe it's a bit of code style, but yeah, that's not non-negotiable. But if you use the semicolon in JavaScript like every time, or you don't. You have for that you have to know when do you actually need to place it and when it is optional, for example. So what is your opinion? Do you prefer them to write it everywhere without like to not come into trouble that you missed it in an important place, or do you say no, I don't care, I just like let it off? So yeah, I do believe, oh, I do agree that at first it's about the person who uses it, so it might be more an issue for the person and not the letter itself that causes the issue. I have another question, Rémy. If I would be in the position to grant you a wish, and of course it's about a linter, um, can you think of a linter that you would love to have right away that does not exist yet?
Okay, I was not prepared for that.
Of course not.
Can you be more specific? What do you mean exactly?
Okay, maybe I want to know what is your biggest struggle that might be solvable with a linter that doesn't currently get linted.
It's hard to answer because even if it's the opinion I chose to defend, and I have strong opinions about it, rules by themselves, they don't matter so much. So I feel like at the moment I'm using standard for most of my projects, and it's good enough, you know. I don't feel like I'm missing something. It's just if I go to a project, I use standard, I use a linter which automatically cleans the file. So there is there is no way I could save the file, commit, and have CI read because of formatting. Then that's enough for me. I don't feel like I'm missing something at the moment. It's just good enough. But you will be disappointed because I kind of skipped the question.
I am so disappointed, Rémy. What would you think about a linter that lints naming method naming?
It's not supposed to be possible because it's supposed to be the hardest thing in programming.
Well, but I grant you a wish.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're in the opinionated wish box.
I would not want it.
You wouldn't want it.
No, because it's Easter eggs. Like 99.999% of the time, you want to name your variables, method, whatever properly, so that they bring knowledge and understanding with them. But sometimes you just want to make a joke or just something funny, and call something really innocent. You can call it time bomb, and then someone reads it and they understand it's a joke, and it just makes them they a little bit brighter. So if you have a linter against that, yeah.
Maybe, okay, that's interesting because I did not think until now. Well, maybe did I? Am I confused? I am confused, but I don't. Sometimes I feel that you don't need to enforce it. So it would be just like good to have a linter that says similar to like a not very opinionated linter about method naming, for example, that said, what about calling it like this or that? Because you called the parent class is called like this, so this does not make sense, for example.
But it's not a linter anymore, because the
Yeah,
linter
then
are
it's not
really
like that.
applying the rules, and what you
Mm.
describe, it feels more like an assistant, a code assistant, enabling you for doing something better. But if you don't do it, they won't scream at you. They would just say, yeah, do whatever. Why the linter? If you don't do it right, it will be pretty angry.
Yeah. Okay, no, I don't want to have an angry linter. Well, maybe I do. No. Um, yeah. Okay, so you don't want to have any wish made linter. What is your favorite non-code related linter? Do you have one?
Do you have an example?
Vale SH or Vale or Vale SH?
I don't know it.
It lints like the text, checks for grammar, for typos, and you set the rules. It's my favorite linter.
What do you think about it's not a linter anymore, but like a tool which would translate the code in your native language? It doesn't change the code, but it changes if and else and method names into your native language. And sometimes I think about it, even just American English and British English. So color would be color with a U in if you're British, because I mean I'm French, so when I write code, it's another language. So yeah, even if sometimes it can be pretty similar, but sometimes I feel for British folks who write code, and I mean the standard is most of the time the standard is American English. So when you write color, it's COLOR, favorite without a U, and they have to force themselves writing a mistake, writing the wrong version of a word, just because the standard is the language of one country, while British English is mostly most spread in the world.
So yeah, Vale or Vale SH? I'm sorry. If you are a maintainer of Vale SH, please tell me how you pronounce it correctly. Because while I live in Spain, I'm German, and I always said like it's called Vale because like Vale SH because Vale, right. I do think it's called Vale SH, but yeah, please comment on it. But yeah, you can do that with Vale or Vale.
So it would translate the code in your native language?
No, it would. Oh no, sorry, it would not translate it, but it would say which dictionary, for example, you would use, and then it would correct it.
Oh yeah, and you said it's not code related. Yeah.
No, it's for the text. Yeah, yeah. You can also go through to code. It also lints the code.
Or maybe a linter which helps you. I mean, I can't think of something else about which is not code related because we started this way. But maybe like a linter or an assistant which explains you a bit of. Yeah, you can do that with AI, but that's another topic. You highlight some code and you ask it,
Yeah,
what the
no,
hell, and
that's not a
it
linter.
explains it.
Don't use AI to lint it. Such a great final word.
That's my
Yeah, it's
question for
fine.
you. Uh, no, you don't want to talk about AI.
No, I don't want to talk about AI. No, but we are seriously on time. It was amazing, Rémy. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Are there any final words for episode 6 of the Opinionated Thoughtbotter that you want to finish?
Yeah, linting matters, but it doesn't really matter in the end.
I love it so much. That's hilarious. Thank you so much, Rémy. It was absolute pleasure to have you. See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye bye.